Hello, good morning. My name is Pusnam Yiri, and I am a leadership advisor. I'm back to give my thought, to share my thoughts with the federal and the state government. As a Nigerian, I believe that this nation can move forward if all of us put our hands together and work towards making it move forward. Dear Mr. President, I'll start with you first. In case you may not be aware, there are many Nigerians that are suffering. I know that sometimes it's difficult for you to get the primary information from primary sources because of the level you operate, but there are many Nigerians that are suffering. In one of my early videos, I said that the issue of the subsidy, I understand what it means. And if handled properly, is going to lead to the development of this nation. If it is not handled properly, is going to lead to chaos. And today, I will also remind you of one of my videos where I talk about the steps, the process of conflict according to expert. I told you in that video, about the first process, which is the first step, which is the latent stage, that crisis will enter a city and many people will not know. And then the escalation stage, when the crisis will start developing, manifesting in different forms. I also told you about the crisis stage, where many people will go out to the street. There will be destruction of property or lives here and there. And then the post-crisis stage, where people will be forced to sit down together and discuss the issue. So far, so good. I also talk about change, why people reject change. In that video, I mentioned to you that when people do not trust the change agent, even if the change is good, they will not accept the change. I also mentioned to you that past history, past experience, can also make people to reject change, no matter how good the change is. If they have experienced something in the past and that thing hurt them in the past, they will say no to it today. And I also talked to you about the fact that people say no to change when the change is sudden. If the change is sudden, they begin to suspect it. And today, considering what is happening now, I want to say, considering what the palliative plan, um, I want to say for now and the future, I want to share my thoughts about that. But first of all, before I share my thoughts about that, I would like to give a background of something. Christ, there are three different stages of acceptance or rejection when you share a vision. The first stage, which is the introductory part of the vision sharing. If you share a new vision, at the early stage, people can go against it, people can fight back, or people can accept it. When you shared the vision of the subsidy removal, or when you acted on the subsidy removal, the labor wanted to go on strike as their first reaction, but the court stopped them from doing so. And because of that, you got what I can say a palliative on your side. So, which means you were enabled, you had the privilege of moving forward with the action you took. So even though people wanted to reject it at the first stage, introductory stage, but because of other variables that happened, you succeeded. And now there is silence in the town, and you implemented it for a while now, and it's working. But this is not the end of the story. The second point of rejection is the servicing stage. People can say no, can say yes to you at the introductory stage, but if you don't service it well, people can still fight back. People can still say no. and now you are at the servicing stage. People expect to see a development. People expect to see you telling them of how much you have saved and how you are using it in the development of the nation. But now at the servicing stage, you are talking about palliative. Palliative, based on past experience, if you look at what happened in the past during the COVID-19, the COVID-19, during the COVID pandemic, um, there was a palliative, the policy of palliative. Oh, we know what happened eventually. The palliatives were not distributed, and it led to crisis. You are aware of that. And then there was another program, Trader Money. That was a palliative. How did it end? And then there was another program, school feeding program. That was a palliative. How did it end? You have to look at the past. People already have past experience. So I can assure you that anything coming to them in the name of palliative will not make sense because of the past experience. So people who have given you support at the introductory stage can still say no to the policy at the servicing stage if you don't service it well. And that is why it is very important, very, very important for you to service the policy very well before people can go against it. So now at the servicing stage, you are talking about palliative. You want to give palliative to 12 million poor Nigerians, and you are thinking of 8,000. The questions that I will ask you here is, number one, what is your definition of a poor person? What is your definition of a poor person? I read that you mentioned low income earners. Are you aware that there are low income earners that are not poor? Because they either get involved in corruption, some of them, or they get involved in businesses. And let me say this to you, there are even beggars who are not poor. If a man collects a salary of 90,000, do you consider that person a low income earner? Let's say someone collects 100,000 naira, and you don't consider him as a low income earner. You don't consider him as poor. For instance, if that person is spending 60,000 every month on fuel and transportation, I think he qualifies to be called a poor person. A friend of mine shared a story of a beggar in Abuja, no, in Nasarawa State, around Maraba, who was begging. And then her daughter told her, "Mommy, see your car going." And then the beggar, the mother now asked the daughter, which one of them? Which one of them means she has more than one. So do you consider her a beggar? So a palliative is based on past experience, has never worked in Nigeria in the recent history, and it will not work from the mindset of the people. So they will reject anything palliative. And palliative is something in the medical sense of it is a care you give to patients who have serious health conditions. A care is not a solution, it's not a cure. It's just a care to alleviate their suffering for a while. Nigerians in a time like this, they want to have solutions, not palliatives. They want to have empowerment. Somebody who is, let me give an example. If somebody is from Plateau State but working in Abuja, if he can have a train, somebody said this, if he can have a train that will bring him in less than 2 hours from Plateau State to Abuja, which means he can leave Plateau around 5 a.m. and arrive Abuja around 7 or so, to work in Abuja, and then leave at 5 and arrive just at 7. Such a person may prefer to live in Plateau and work in Abuja. These are some of the developments people want to see. The business people want to have empowerment. The road network is bad. People want to see you using this money to construct new roads and to create the network. The security situation is bad. People want to see you talking about correcting that using the money you are saving. The power is bad. People want to see you using the money you are saving to correct that. These are some of the things people want to see. Yes, I know that some of these things will happen in the long-term plan, but people want to see the introductory part of this long-term plan. My dear Mr. President and the governors, I am of the view that palliative may not work. 12 million Nigerians, how many of us in population, even though the population rate is not stable, but let me say this, I did my research and I discovered in 2021 there is a population, a postulation of 213.4 million Nigerians, and in 2023 there is a population postulation of 223, 804,600 and whatever Nigerians, and I also did my own little survey of how many poor people we have in Nigeria. And based on different experts, different postulations, the first research survey shows that 63% of people in Nigeria, population of Nigeria, they are living in poverty. Another that is 133 million Nigerians, and then another group also they are of the view that 88.4 million Nigerians are living in extreme poverty. So if you are going to give palliatives to 12 million Nigerians, I just don't know how the distribution will take place. So what is your definition of a poor person? And number two, I read a few days ago of an agency saying that they have the list of the poor people. So the question I will ask is poverty a permanent position? Is poverty a permanent position? I may be poor yesterday and be rich today. So having a list of poor people is not possible because people move from one stage to another, people grow, things change. So poverty is not a permanent position. And because it is not a permanent position, you may have a list of someone today who is poor, and that person can become the richest person in Nigeria. And number three, how are you going to distribute this palliative? Because it will create another problem for you, which is the problem of corruption and the issue of bad accountability. So yes, it is good that the government is having a human face and is recognizing the fact that there are people who are suffering. That's why you are thinking of the palliative. But remember, the three main things I'm talking to you about today is, number one, if you introduce a new vision, people can say no to it at the introductory level. If you are lucky, just like what happened to you now, you have crossed that level. Now you are at the servicing level. If you don't service these challenges people are going through as a result of the subsidy removal, I can assure you people will say no to it even at the servicing level. So my advice to you, sir, and the president and the governors is for you to service this crisis very well, to service this suffering very well. Because if you don't service, this is what is going to happen. Hunger is a common ground for national crisis. Hunger is a common ground for national crisis. There are many challenges that can never lead to national crisis. Let me give you a few examples. If you ban the importation of expensive cars, it will not lead to national crisis. If you ban the eating of a certain kind of meat in Nigeria, it will not lead to national crisis because there are people who don't eat it. Even education will not lead to national crisis easily, because there are people who don't support formal education in Nigeria. But these two things can lead to national crisis. Number one, hunger, because hunger has no tribe, hunger has no religion. Hunger can give people a common ground to unite, to go against you. Connectivity, which petroleum plays a very vital role, can lead to national crisis. Please, Mr. President and the governors, intervene at this service stage properly, intervene properly, manage the service stage properly. And sometimes, if you are lucky, you will cross the introductory stage, you will cross the service stage, and then have crisis at the concluding stage. The concluding stage is now the place where issue of quality is involved, issue of reporting is involved. That's where integrity comes in, or corruption comes in. People, you can move a project and succeed at the introductory and the service stage, and be rejected at the concluding stage. So these are the three levels that you need to pay good attention to. The introductory stage of the vision, you have overcome that one. Nigerians have allowed you for a while now, for weeks. They have been enduring, because they believe, many of them believe that it's for good. They said there is no national crisis. And now the servicing stage. Please be very careful, so that it will not lead to national crisis. There's hunger in the town. There's hunger in the town. People are hungry. I went to my mechanic to fix my car, and then a few people were discussing, and they said an elderly person met them and said he didn't want money. He didn't want them to give him money. He only needed food, and food alone. People are hungry, sirs. People are going through tough times. So don't forget the introductory, the servicing, and the concluding stage. Please, I wish you God's wisdom in managing this process, because leadership is not easy. Leadership is tough, but it's important for you to listen to your people, because without them, you will never become a leader. You are there to solve their problems, not to add to their problems. And I think that palliative, as a care to someone with a terminal disease, to improve quality for a while medically, from the medical point of view, will only create a temporary solution, and it will also create new forms of problems. And I think you should reconsider that. You should look at better ways of responding to these issues. My name is Pusnam Yeri. I'm a leadership advisor. I wish you the best, and I pray that the good Lord will give you the wisdom to manage this stage in our national development. I wish you the best. Bye-bye.